Hello everyone, this is our fifth video and hope you are watching my previous video and enjoying the thing. In this video, I will show you how we can implement our basic setup and advanced setup. For basic setup, when you don't have consent, you will not fire your tag. For example, if you don't have consent for ad related consent, that case you will not fire tag related to ad. For example, Facebook ad as well as Google related ad. And if you don't have consent for analytics, then you will not fire any tag which is related to Google Analytics. This is very clear thing, no consent, no tag fire. But advanced method, every time tag will be fired, but based on the consent value, Google will internally filter out the data. Which data should actually filter out, Google decided it internally. For example, if we don't give consent for ad related thing, then that cases Google will not collect information for ad related tag, and it will not collect information or user data for ad related thing. And the advanced method is name is advanced, but it is implementation is easy. And this advanced method only work for Google related product, for example Google Analytics, Google tag related thing. As well as if we don't give consent for Google Analytics, then Google Analytics will not insert the GA_GA tag, which is responsible for actually _GA cookie, which is responsible for collecting data related to Google Analytics. And many cases, numerous privacy experts have raised concern about this technique because we don't know how and what information Google actually filtering out based on the consent. That's why this is called the gray technique. And if we show you actually what how Google actually filter out this thing, I am switching back to my browser. Here you will see that consent mode behavior. If we have the ad storage granted and analytic storage granted, that cases it show and write down which thing actually happen, as well as this is the ad. If ad is denied, then this the list what actually Google behave this type of thing, and as well as you see others thing. I will share this page link in the video description. You can check it. But in nutshell, Google will check whether the user have proper consent for collecting data or not. If any cases there is no consent, that cases Google internally decide and filter out the data for user, as well as user ID, password, user IP address, and other related things, so that Google or anybody cannot identify exactly user information and personally know that which user is this. Anyway, if we like to set up the advanced mode in our Google Analytics in our Google Tag Manager, then we need to go to Google and Tag Manager settings. From here, this is my GA4 config tag, as well as other tag is related to GA4, and this is for the Google ad. In my setup, I also have installed Facebook pixel setup is here, as well as that this is the conversion linker related to Google Ads. Now if we like to set up the advanced method, that cases we need to edit our tag. So I am just going to GA4 config, and then if we click additional setting, click here, and from the actually under the advanced setting here, we should see this type of setting, and here by default you will see something like this, no, not set. And you will see there is a built-in consent stack for the GA4 config. This is the built-in ad storage as well as analytics storage. But if you like to make this configure this for advanced setup, that's cases we just need to change it not set to no additional consent required. We can do this manually for every GA4 related tag and others GA4 and Google Ad related tags, but we can do this at a time easily. To do that, we need to go to our Google Tag Manager admin section. From the admin section, here this is the container setting. I am clicking the container setting and it will appear a setting called additional settings. If I enable this settings, say look here, the enable consent mode overview. If I enable it and save it, and if I coming back to my workspace, I will see a little shield icon here. This is the icon, and if I click here, I can see all of the tag at a glance and status of consent. One thing you need to keep in mind that this setup is only related to our tag. Actually, it is for a overview. It is not related to whether we are configure our consent or not. There is no relation between consent configuration and this icon and that setup. But we can easily manage all of the consent related thing with a separate dashboard, and this feature is just giving our a flexibility to work with consent, just it. And if you say that the built-in consent is here, and if you check here, this is not related to Google. Sorry, this is not related to Google product, but you see that if you check here, this is the consent configure related to GA4 as well as Google Ad. This cases the additional consent is none, but if we like to change it as advanced method, that cases we just need to select all, and then we will click this icon, and from here we should select no additional consent required. Normally your cases you may find this something like this. Maybe I have changed this before showing this video, that's why my case it is selected, but you will find something like this, and you need to change these settings to no additional consent required and save it. As well as I also need for this conversion linker, I just need to click it here, and from here just we need to choose no additional consent required. So we have successfully configured the consent for advanced method, and this is called advanced method. Now if we check what actually happening after setting advanced method, right now you see that we this is the default setting, and if we clear everything here, as well as if I clear the cookie related to our consent, then if we reload the page, and this is the thing, that's when this is the page where we are something like we are first time visiting our website. And if you see that I didn't give any consent here, but if we check here and going to the tags, you see that the GA4 config, this is the GA4 config already fire, although we don't have proper consent for this, but this is actually the advanced method. But if we check here, or if we check our data, for example, if I inspect here, right now we don't have any consent, and from here I am just going to the network tab, and if I reload the page again, in this stage we don't have any consent. And if we check our collect, this is the collect, and this way actually Google Analytics collecting data, and this is you will find a lot of query parameters. And if we like to check what information actually Google Analytics collecting here, we can just switch. You also find the thing here, but if we like to check this more clear way, you can click the payload, and we can see which information actually Google Analytics collecting. You can see everything here. But here is an interesting thing and important thing. This is the GCS. Right now you see that this is GCS is G1001. Actually G1 is default value, and the default value, and as well as the 0 has a meaning. That means this 0 is related to ad and this 0 is related to analytics. To show the thing, I am just going back to my website again, and here if I give the consent, for example, if I give consent for marketing and allow selection, and if I give a page reload, and right now if I check the same value, we should see the value has changed. Now if we scroll down a little bit and GCS, you see that right now the value has changed, and our setting for right state is, if I check the thing again, right now we have marketing consent, that cases the value is Z1. This is the default value. Every time you should say something like this, and the one means the marketing is allowed, and this is the marketing related. When GCS value, that means after Z1 the it is 1, that means we have a proper consent for analytics related consent, and when this is the 0, this is related to statistic, that's mean analytics. Now if I switch back this thing with another thing, I am just denying this, and if I allow the statistic and allow the selection, and if I reload the page again, and right now if I check the value again, and right now you see that G1 after this is 0, that means we don't have consent for ad related thing, but we have consent for analytic related thing. And if I going back to my slide again, then I have write down everything clearly. This is the, after the collect tag, you should see something like Z1 is default, and second thing, whether it will be 0 or 1. When this is 0, that is add storage denied. This is 1, add storage granted. For this case when this is 0, that means analytic storage denied, and when this 1, that case analytic storage. And you will see details here. Z1, that means we don't have, we deny for both add storage and analytics storage, and as well as when we have something like this, that case we only have add storage. When this type, we have the denied for add storage but granted for analytics storage, and this case the double one consent for both, and this stays this side don't require additional consent. This is the default state. Anyway, hope you are clear the thing, and I like to show you another nice thing. For example, if I come here and just going back to my, just I am clearing my consent related cookie so that we can start from the beginning, and we everybody know about underscore GA cookie. And you see that we have already two GA cookie. I am clearing both. Actually, those two cookies related to Google Analytics. And actually this underscore GA cookie Google used to identify the visitor. Right now I have cleared the cookie and we don't have any consent. Now if I reload the page and if we check underscore GA, you see that we don't have any cookie for underscore GA, but if I allow everything, look what's happened. Then this cookie has been set. So when we don't have proper consent, that cases Google Analytics will not write this cookie for Google Analytics and user inform. Actually, this cookie contain the user information. When we don't have proper consent, that case Google Analytics will not create this cookie, will not write and read this cookie. So in nutshell, in the advanced method, it is a easy method, but advanced, it is a easy technique method. If I go to the previous, this is a advanced method. It is called advanced because Google internally applies some advanced technique to filter out and collecting right data based on available consent. But the setup advanced method is easy, but many privacy experts have raised their concern and they are not agree with this type of concern. And I personally also don't prefer this type of advanced technique, because these cases you may say a lot of data related to event, but you will not find proper user data when if user does not give the consent. In that cases, maybe it would be difficult for to come to a decision with the analytics data. But advanced technique is very simple. When we don't have consent, we will not fire any tag related to that thing. This is the advanced implementation, but another downside of advanced implementation is that the advanced implementation only works for Google related product. But for example, in my Google Analytics, in my actually tag manager, there are many tags related to Facebook. And right now we have set up advanced method, and for this method you won't find anything something like built-in consent checkup. For example, if I go to my page view for Facebook right now, from here advanced, then additional consent setup, right now you don't see anything like this built-in consent checkup. So so by using, if I check this thing, it will do nothing for actually Facebook related tag and others marketing related tags. It's only work for Google Analytics or Google ad related tags. So it is another downside for advanced setup. You see that this is the, if I scroll down, you will see this is the built-in consent available only for GA4 and Google Ad, but you don't see anything like for Facebook. So in the next step of the video, I will show you how we can set up the basic method, and basic method is very easy. When we don't have consent, we will not fire any tag related to that type of event. For example, if we don't have consent, we will not consent for ad, we will not fire ad related tag. When we don't have consent related to analytics, we will not fire tag which tag is related to Google Analytics or any kind of analytics. So you are able to set up your base advanced setup, but I recommend you in your setup, if you have only Google related products, that cases it is perfectly fine. Maybe you can just use the advanced technique. You just need to choose the settings how I shown. Okay, it is all for today. Next video we will see how we can set up our basic implementation. Have a good day.